The Substance movie starts by introducing audience to the concept of its unique creation. An egg yolk is given a dose of the substance and very quickly it splits into two, as we can see on the screen. After that, the movie truly begins, introducing audiences to the character of the Elizabeth Sparkle, which is played by Demi Moore, an incredible popular and successful Hollywood star who even has a spot on the Walk of Fame, as you know, that kind of Hall of Fame. However, despite her once shining career, it has gone downhill over time and visually paralleled with a star on the sidewalk that is being slowly weathered and its damage as time passes. Things get so bad that Elizabeth is fired from her once highly rated aerobic show where she performed the aerobic dance of some kind. According to her misogynistic and the gross producer Harvey, they need a new younger face to get those ratings back up, as you know that after a certain age the women's body do get a little bit downshader, so you need a young face, a young blood to do the same thing. Now Elizabeth is the old news. Old news. To make matter even worse, a car accident lands her in the hospital. It's where the move starts to pick up. A doctor assistant in the hotel hands her a mysterious USB and tells her that she is the perfect candidate. And after coming to the home, Elizabeth places the USB stick into her TV, which shows her an ad for the substances that promises a new version of herself. At such a low mental peace and health, and wanted to do something she can, to get a better version of herself, she can to recapture her youth and fame, she decided to go forward with the program. After a trip to sketchy location, Elizabeth has what she needs to utilize the substance when it comes to with clear instructions. The actress can only use activator once, and she needs to use the stabilizer every day and switch it off every 7 days. But what exactly is she switching off from? Let us find out. Well, that answer is given in a horrific fashion after she injects herself with an activator. A completely naked and freshly created human tears itself out of the Elizabeth's older body. That is from the when her region from the back, that is the spine, is teared into two parts and the new body emerges out. And as her original body lays in a bloody mess on her bathroom floor with a gaping tear down the length of her back, audience meet the Margaret Qualley Sue. This is the brand new youth to which she wanted, and the substance program is referred to as. The program insists that the two beings are one and not the separate, yet each have their own memories and experience and does not share a conscience. It is really, really good and really, really kind of weird. In one body, you get two kind of experiences. It's like that. The Elizabeth thankfully isn't dead. Sue takes her, sews her up, and attaches the included feeding fluid to keep her other half alive while her 7 days are playing out. It does not take long for Sue to get the fame that Elizabeth lost. She is the perfect replacement for Harvey to put on their new show because she is young, talented, beautiful, and is really good at what she does. Sue is very quickly shot to new heights of fame as she gets her new show and even a big billboard of herself that you can see on the screen right outside of the apartment window. She sees it and she feels very good. When it is Elizabeth's turn to come back out, she sees what Sue has garnered in her absence. The billboard outside is a harsh and blunt truth, reminder of everything she wishes she had one time of point own life when she used to be just young like Sue. That is a youth, fame and adoration and the world at her own fingertips. But in the contrast, now we can see that in Elizabeth's life, it's not so perfect and she's very demotivated kind of and doing nothing but eating horribly, being a slob and becoming one with her coach. This angers Sue, who became more impulsive and reckless with how she handles the switches. It gets so bad that at one point she stays out longer than her allotted 7 days. The consequences to Elizabeth are severe as she wakes up with one of her fingers rapidly aging, becoming a decrepit limb, and she tries to call the person who gave her the substance, but he is unable to help her. At one point, Elizabeth even runs across the doctor who first offered her the substance, but he is now old and decrepit, aged, so trying to warn her her other self will take life from her, a warning that mostly falls on deaf ears. Angry at how Elizabeth continues to slide the downhill, but Sue makes a choice to try and to be her younger, better self for as long as she possibly can, and ignoring the rules that were once said by the doctor itself. And after all these things, Sui feels like she needs all the time in the world to get ready for her big gig, that is the New Year's Eve broadcast that is going to take place very quickly, so she needs to be in very good condition right now. And leaving Elizabeth to rot in a newly built secret closet in her bathroom, Sue is out partying and enjoying her new life that she has gained right now. The power, the fame, and the youthness she had. Her negligence, however, leads to her running out of stabilizer fluid right before her big New Year's Eve takes place and forcing her to reawaken that Elizabeth. She is now unrecognizable, having aged what seems like a multiple decades, or maybe I don't know how many hundreds of years, because it really look craps and the makeup is really good on her, leaving nearly all her hair behind. But it's worse than that. She isn't just old, she has started the body horror transformation into a terrifying looking creation. It does not look human up to one point to me personally when I saw it at the first point of time. The opposite to Elizabeth was hoping to receive when she first started the program. In a panic, she calls the number for the substance and demands to stop the program. They give Elizabeth termination fluid that would end Sui in a safe manner. Elizabeth drags Sui out into her living room where she starts to inject the fluid, but she gets halfway before looking again at Sui's big bolt outside the window and realizing that Sui and her career is still embody everything she wanted to get back, and she can't bring herself to finish the termination. To the shock of both Elizabeth and the audience, the partial termination severed their connection, allowing Sui to wake up while her counterpart was still awake. This is kind of weird. So they both exist in same reality at the same point of time. And when she sees the leftover termination fluid that Elizabeth was trying to use and snap, Sui, getting angry and enraged, goes to attack her former self. Being young, strong, and confident, and she was at the pinnacle of youth, so Sui has a clear advantage over Elizabeth, who can hardly move. In a bloody violent fashion, Sui beats Elizabeth directly to death. While Sui thinks that she is in the clear as she prepares for her New Year Eve's show, her body starts to decay. One by one, we can see the parts gets off in the decaying process. Sui's teeth are not staying in, and ear falls off, and her fingernails begin to peel off because the skin over them and the total structure begins to peel off. And since Elizabeth is dead, Sui feels like she has no better option than to use activator once again for the last time. But in doing so, she is not greeted with the brand new, young and youthful version of herself. Instead, a monstrous, terrifying version of Sui and Elizabeth is born, and this new creation is truly hideous and disturbing. It looks like something from the Dead Space game or the end creature in the Evil Dead Rise series. And at this point of time, the movie leaves behind all subtlety and divides deep into satire. The monster still decides it is the best to go to the show, putting on a fancy dress, that blue color she was wearing, Sui, and earrings, and even cutting out a picture of Elizabeth's face to put on itself. It manages to make it to the theater and onto the stage without being recognizable for the most point of time as the monster it has become. But from there, it doesn't take long for everyone to see what it has truly become, and resulting in a very terrified screams from the audience itself. You can see the audience getting really terrified, and despite pleading "it's me," the audience attacks the monster, because if you see something like something shit that is front of you, definitely you will be terrified. And it even gets decapitated, which results in the dead growing right back in its place, continuously regenerating limbs and new features. The blood flies from the monster everywhere throughout the studio and covering every soul in the building. The monster escapes, but after reaching out the outdoor, it doesn't take long for her to explode into pieces. It is not gone, but though a mutated version of Elizabeth's face remains as it attempts to find the refugee. Fittingly, it gets as far as Elizabeth Sparkle's Hollywood star on the Walk of Fame before dying, and we can see at the last moment it is being cleared. It is being cleared by the yellow machine which was going from that way, so it gets cleared. The Elizabeth Sparkle's Hollywood star, on which her final body pieces were present, or that mutated body was present, and this is how the movie ends. The film ends with a grotesque remnant for the Elizabeth face dying near her tarnished Hollywood star walking fame, a very satirical conclusion to her quest for the eternal youth. Let us take a look at some of the greatest moments in this film, and some of the spoilers and some of the main things that we can decide which way the movie was going. So the big element of the substance was the mysterious company that provided repeated attempts to convince Elizabeth to see Sui as an extension of herself. But however, as the film progresses, we tend to see that they both, that means Elizabeth and Sui, increasingly view each other as their foe wrestling for control of the same life, and this builds until Sui decides to remain in control despite the repeated warning of the fallout, resulting in Elizabeth being reduced to a very weird kind of a new form. And when she finally regain her control, her own ego and the horror at her action result in a very diminishing her younger self. However, upon awakening, Sui doesn't share the same mercy, and ultimately she kills her former self, that is Elizabeth. And practically speaking, the moment underscores how much Elizabeth has lost control of her desire and self-worth. Her younger ego outright killed her real self, and in this plot, ultimately it proves to be Sui's undoing, and she quickly fall apart without Elizabeth around to safely provide the necessary serum for her continuous existence. By destroying her true self and assuming full control of her life, Sui quickly burns out and is transformed into the film's final monster. And one of the mystery that still ties to it is that is the identity of the organization that makes it. Elizabeth only hears about it from an unnamed nurse she encounters following a car crash, who believes she is an ideal candidate for the process. And the investor of the serum in the substance remain a mystery throughout the movie, with the organization, I think, behind it only communicating through unseen phone calls or messages. We cannot see even a third party or any kind of middleman involved, so we cannot get a clear-cut idea about who is behind this. And she picks up the serum from a dead drop in a downtown Los Angeles, that is LA, and never communicates with anyone directly about it, and never learns who made it. The film notably doesn't position the organization as the problem itself, but they are blunt in their advice and their appraisal for the Elizabeth's increasing tension with Sui. And they didn't try to convince that Elizabeth one way or the other to abandon the serum. It was the Elizabeth her own wish, and she contemplates the ending the process. They explain the rules and leave the choice in her hand. And Elizabeth and Sui's fate is decided by them, and this underscores the film theory about how Elizabeth and Sui's self-destruction is caused by their own decision. I really liked the movie. The movie was really well written. It was brilliantly acted. The cinematography was very good. It was not a very high budget film or over the top action cheesy kind of a film that you see nowadays. It was very brilliant film. I really like the concept of the movie that was based on the body horror, and it really questions our mind and our societal thinking norms about what is the real definition of beauty, that aging is an inevitable truth which cannot be denied, and even aging cannot be delayed up to a particular point. So it is a part of life, and this is what our nature has given us. This is how we are created, and we cannot reverse the thing. And in the, what you can say, in the greediness of being against very young, very having a very good physique, having a very good body, having a very good face, to getting her fame back, we can see that Elizabeth really struggled throughout the film. And the true moral of this movie is highlighting how someone can literally become their own very worst enemy. So this is throughout the film. I think this is the main message that we should carry on, that we should keep in our mind, that we should be, I think, okay with whatever we have, and we should not be doing something that is very unrealistically, practically, that is not possible. So we should take care, we should take good care of our body, and whatever we can do is in our hands. This is the thing I learned from this movie, and it just stick into my mind for, I think, very long time, even after I have seen this movie 7 days ago. So you can see that this movie is really good at delivering the message. It is a powerful story, and that uses the body horror genre really great to highlight how the societal expectation can change a person into an unrecognizable thing, as we are seeing with the character of Elizabeth. Really good movie, and it's a definitely watchable movie. You should watch it, I think, twice or thrice, then you can get full idea of the movie, that how brilliant that movie is. Thank you, and subscribe for more.